Okay. The most controversial event in your sportscasting career is obviously your role in the ousting of head football coach Mike Leach at Texas Tech over the treatment of your son Adam. You've said that the public would support you when your side of the story came out, but so far that doesn't seem to be the case, especially among his disgruntled Tech fans. I'm going to lose my place here, especially the nasty Google bomb that you mentioned in your Twitter feed. Do you think your involvement in the Tech story will be a drag on your campaign? If not, why not?
Last Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I went to West Texas. I was in Abilene, I was in Midland, I was in Odessa, I was in Sweetwater. I could not have had a better trip. Go look at the articles. Don't listen to what I say. Go read the articles.
I think I posted some of them.
Look at the stories. Look what happened. I did radio live in Midland on Tuesday afternoon from 5 to 6. Live call-in talk show, one after the other. I like your ideas, Mr. James. I like what you're doing. 3 minutes to go in a radio show. Let's take one more caller. I get a phone call and he says, Mr. James, you know here in West Texas we love our football. We also love our good football coaches. But most importantly, we love our children. And I respect and appreciate that you stood up and defended your kid. That's all I did. Everything that you've heard, there are no allegations. It happened. You in the United States of America cannot put a human being away in dark solitary confinement twice, punishing for having a concussion. That's not alleged. It happened. Everything that you've been reading and all that you've heard are nothing but lies and distractions from Leach, trying to distract people from what he actually did to a human being. Mike Leach got Mike Leach fired. He's the reason he's not in love, not Craig James.
Okay. What steps do you think the federal government should undertake to secure the border and deal with illegal aliens already dwelling in the United States?
Well, first and foremost, we've got to secure the border. And the federal government does have a responsibility to defend our country and our shorelines. We're not doing that. We have 1,900 miles down there. I would send troops immediately. We ought to have an army of folks down there securing that border. Now, the 12 million people who are here, they're men and women, boys and girls, their families, trying to better themselves. Can't blame them. But what we can blame them for is that they've come here and they've broken the law. The Constitution says you have a way to come in here and it's not illegally. So we have to address that. They have to go back. I'm not for amnesty. But we have to have a process and a system that allows them to easily understand where to go and how to get a visa to come across, and a true proof of citizen of path to get here, that they are signed up and we know who you are and that you're a part of the production of this country, not just someone in the underworld running around. So secure the border with troops, and let's honor the Constitution, and let's get it right so that we can allow people to come to this country as immigrants.
And part of, let's follow up on the idea that putting troops on the border, would this be in any way be difficult to reconcile with the Posse Comitatus Act?
With the what?
The Posse Comitatus Act.
Which is what?
The prohibition of using U.S. troops in a peacetime policing activity within the borders of the United States, roughly speaking.
Yeah. See, now, again, I look at what is the role of the federal government. One of them is to secure our borders. There's no greater need right now than to be in the 1,900 miles that we have in the southwest part of the United States defending our border. If you think for 1 second that there aren't radical extremists coming across that border who have one thing in mind, and that is to harm us, then our heads are in the sand. And they're lining us up. And so why, and I don't care what act, what kind of thought that you have, how you can justify not sending border troops there, it's inexcusable. The federal government, we have an army, and that army must defend our border, and that's part of the United States, and we're not doing it.
Okay. Given current budget realities, what are the greatest foreign threats the United States will face in the next few decades, and what global strategy should we pursue to meet those threats?
Well, I think the intellectual property rights of what we establish here in this country have to be protected. And China right now is absolutely taking advantage of our intellectual properties. And we've got to have a fair trade agreement with multiple countries. Because as a businessman, I look out there and I say, okay, 95% of the consumers of products in this world live outside the United States borders. That's a big opportunity. We're still the number one producer of products at 21% of all of them produced in the United States. China's number 2 at 15%, Japan's in third. We need to grow that pie. And if we educate kids like I just told you about, and we get them prepared to go help our manufacturers grow, then we go out and we have more products to go to the country, to the world. I would reduce the the corporate tax rate to 0%. And I would do that because that's going to really stimulate our economy. That's going to grow our revenues. More tax revenues coming in, more sales tax revenue, people spending more money. I'm a practical guy, and this comes from having a real sense of Real Street and an understanding of how the economy works.
Okay. Since you mentioned intellectual property, what was your position on the recently shelved SOFA-HIPAA bills in the House and Senate for intellectual property law?
Well, you see, we have to be careful there because of censorship, right? We have to be very careful. We do not want to intrude and become a country that censors folks and won't let freedom of speech reign. And so I'm very much in protecting that. But we also have to be able to protect the intellectual properties of business minds of what they put together.
Okay. So you're saying that because of the censorship issue, you wouldn't have supported SOPA and HIPAA in its current House and Senate forms?
I would not do anything that would allow a further intrusion into censorship of people and an intrusion into our freedom of speech. But I would do all I could to maintain the integrity of the intellectual property rights of owners.
Both you and former Dallas Mayor Tom Lippert hail from roughly the greater Metroplex area, roughly speaking. And as a former popular SMU alumnus, this would seem to be your natural geographic-based support as well. How do you overcome the fact that so many Dallas Republicans already pledged their support to Tom Lippert?
You know what? There are a ton of people in Dallas who support me too. I'm telling you, man, these exit polls, me going to events and groups, people are jumping over big time from everyone's camp. And again, the number I told you at the beginning, 60 to 65% are not decided. That's a big number. So we got a ways to go, and we're chipping away.
Okay. Penultimate question. You stated in your advertising career, and just as we're talking about now, that you're living on Real Street. Some have said that the career that went from being a college football star to a successful NFL player to national sportscaster isn't exactly Real Street. So it's pretty far away from many people's experiences. What have you done in your adult life that corresponds to living on Real Street?
See, this is a misconception. People that would say that they have no idea how hard it is to make it as a professional athlete. They have no idea how hard it is to be a 20-year plus broadcaster at ESPN at the level where I am. They have no idea the struggles and challenges that I've gone through as a 30-year entrepreneur. I have sweat making a paycheck at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. I've had the bosses come in and say, we're going to reduce your salary by 40%. I've lived on Real Street trying to make sure that I was doing the right thing when I made a decision, signing the bank debt at the note, trying to create a job, hoping I did the right thing. I'll challenge anyone to an understanding of Real Street, where I come from. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that the upbringing that I have had has not been one that was charmed. It was one I was charmed in the sense that I was given an opportunity to fight through and to persevere through a lot of challenges in my life. I'm not wet behind the ears. I get it.
Okay, and it would of course be remiss of me if with a football player and broadcaster not to ask at least one NFL-related question. So, who do you favor for winning next year's Super Bowl?
My New England Patriots.
Okay.
I'm gonna be a homer on that.
So what happens if you get elected to the Senate and they're playing? I guess they're in the AFC, so it'd be the Dallas Cowboys, would be the Texas team. Who are you root for them?
I'm gonna root for both of them for the best team to win.
Well, that sounds like a very political straddle to me.
But you know what I do? I grew up a Cowboy fan, and I love the Cowboys, and I love Daryl Johnston, my endorser supporter. But I'm a New England Patriot, and I think people would understand if I pull for the New England Patriots because that's who I played for.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your interview, Mr. James.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
And glad we could do this. I just hope it actually comes out